What's a red flag everyone should be aware of when attending a job interview? When you are signing all the forms they give you, and you are taking your time to read over every document so that you can fully understand what you are getting into, and people come in and start telling you that you don't need to read this and that just sign here and so on. A job I almost took 10 years ago, me, reading the contract. HR, that's a standard employee contract, just sign at the bottom. Me, thanks, I'll need to read it before I sign. HR, why? Me, anything I sign is legally binding and so I will read it before I sign. Just give me a few minutes. HR, I have other things to do today, sign at the bottom. Me, thank you for your time. I won't be signing anything for a company that doesn't want me reading the employee contract. I left, fuck those people. Well, the overtime isn't mandatory, but most folks stick around after hours most days. Spoilers, the overtime is mandatory. We're a family, a dysfunctional one, with a narcissistic mom and abusive alcoholic dad. Work hard, play harder, aka we're all functional alcoholics and sleep is for the dead. Untracked PTO, this one can be a green flag as long as they immediately clarify everyone takes at least 8 to 10 weeks a year, otherwise it's a nice way of saying there's no need to track it because we don't take any. Up to some number a year performance bonuses. You're going to make minimum wage. Buzzword bingo when you ask what you'd actually be doing. It either means you'll be bored out of your skull, or regularly berated for not being Superman. So if you make it to the 6th round of interviews, you can expect they are not really going to hire anyone. Cut bait. We're a family here. Does that mean I get regular raises and promotions? No, those are for our actual family members. We just hired my nephew to manage your department and expect you to do his work on top of your own. If you have to make any financial investment into the company in order to work there. I interviewed for a window installation company and did well on the test. They wanted me in sales and said I needed to pay for a laptop. They would cover it and take it out of my checks if I didn't have the cash to pay up front. We only want the best of the best. Me, how much are you paying? Minimum wage. Employees are either new hires or have been there for 15 plus years with no in between. There is no room for improvement, it's better to leave for advancement. Or like a place I worked at, one person had been there 15 years and the rest had been there 3 years or less, some even less than a year. Later on we found out the 15-year employee was a terrible human being on multiple levels and had basically run everyone else off, while playing the victim. If they tell you on arrival that the job you applied for is no longer available, but they have a very similar position that just opened up, leave immediately. It's a bait and switch tactic coupled with the sunk cost fallacy. Their new position will be identical to the original one you applied for, except the salary is significantly lower. They are hoping that you'll play along because you showed up to be interviewed, probably desperate for work and will accept any job, no matter the wage. Furthermore, the position you applied for doesn't really exist, or at least not at the advertised wage. Or their positions won't be anything alike, and the one they end up offering you is door-to-door sales shit. My friend applied for a receptionist position, went for the interview and was gone for over 8 hours making everyone worry, and it's because they drove her to some seminar training bullshit for selling vacuums door-to-door and she couldn't leave, because they basically took away access to her car. I brought up a company's awful Glassdoor reviews and they got so mad they ended the interview. Well, guess I dodged that bullet. I once turned down a job offer because they mentioned that the previous person in the position had quit after a few months, and most of the people I interviewed with seemed stressed out. We don't like clock watchers here. We expect everyone to be committed. Expecting more work for no extra pay. Getting mad at you when you leave at 5, even though your stated work hours end at 5. I interviewed with one of the big ticket networks. It's based in southern New England. The pre-screen call with the hiring manager went well and our views about writing code, source control and documentation were spot on, so I thought I'd give it a shot. When I arrived they took my driver's license from me and told me they'd hold it while I was on site. Then they wanted to do a credit check while I was taking a series of grammar, basic intelligence and JavaScript tests. I told them there's no way I was going to get my credit dinged with a hard credit check before an offer. The woman from HR just didn't get it. I made sure they stopped the credit check, collected my license, and walked out. I sat in the car for a minute, thinking about the very odd vibe of the place, how they treated me, and wondered about the culture of a place that would do these things. Since then, they have been outed for a whole bunch of issues, including, big surprise, HR ethics. Looking back, I never should have considered working in that place. I'm very happy where I work now. My boss is smart and flexible and I'm doing good work, as opposed to screwing concert goers. Near miss. If they lied about the salary on the posting. Yes, I have had this happen 3 times. First time was in the 4th job interview, for office visits. I was confused why negotiations around stocks and PTO were going weirdly, and I finally asked if they were even willing to pay salary stated in the job ad. They were not, and I politely thanked them for their time and wished them good luck finding someone experienced and knowledgeable to meet their needs at that price point. Second time turned out to be someone pretending to hire for one company, but were really starting a competing business. And they were only willing to pay in equity, no salary. Third also only wanted to pay in equity, but didn't have a clear business plan, just some patents. I'm done interviewing at very early stage startups. They asked me my political opinion, which I didn't think was right. I've been asked what university my father went to, he was a farmer, and what kind of house I lived in as a child, what kind of clubs my mother belonged to, the local women had some kind of handicraft get-together, does that count, and a variety of other questions clearly meant to make sure they only hired people from higher social strata. I gave some bullshit answers, then left. I also had an interview at Microsoft a long time ago. They used to ask which of the 7 dwarfs was your favorite, and why. I answered grumpy, we have so much in common. Ask stupid questions, get stupid answers. One red flag for sure is when they talk about how the company is like a family, that usually means they expect you to be super available all the time and put the job above everything else, even your actual life. Nobody wants to work anymore. You're about to find out exactly why nobody wants to work for them. Seriously, every single job I've worked that said that during an interview was toxic and grossly underpaid. I recall watching some news segment on the supposed inability to find workers after COVID and how some were claiming it was the free money from the government. They interviewed someone just railing about how they couldn't get anyone to even interview. They were paying minimum wage. The interviewer came back a few weeks or months later and the place had found employees without a problem, once they starting pay a reasonable wage. Turns out the real phrase is nobody wants to work a shitty job for bad pay. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see each other in the next video.